I'll be very sweet, short, 3 minutes max. और मैं थोड़ा सा अंग्रेजी में भी बात करूँगा क्योंकि I see a lot of foreign dignitaries there, so I'll stick to a little bit of English also for their benefit. मैं शायद ज़िंदगी में पहली दफ़ा किसी ऐसे फंक्शन में आया हूँ, 35 साल हो गए जर्नलिज्म करते हुए, बूढ़े हो गए. Because I always felt uncomfortable कि as a journalist, should we speak at the book launching ceremony of a politician or not? Because it puts a tag on you. Then in future, can you be impartial to that man? Can you criticize him or whatever? So I've always avoided this. कभी मैं ऐसे में नहीं गया. शेख साहब को इनकार नहीं कर सकते. शेख साहब से जी जर्नलिस्टिक ताल्लुक भी है, दोस्ती भी है, but for me the biggest curiosity was a book by Shaikh साहब in English. This for me was like a shock. Because Shaikh साहब और अंग्रेजी दो मुख्तलिफ चीज़ें हैं. And he also jokes about it. हमेशा कहते हैं यार, and mock भी करते हैं. आप, you English speaking media, you flana. So he always takes a mickey out of everyone on English. So I thought, has he written the book himself? Is there a ghostwriter? What is going on? और फिर मैंने किताब देखा, मुझे किसी writer का भी नाम नहीं है. And the first thing I asked Shaikh Sahab when I sat down with him was, I said, Shaikh Sahab, have you written this book yourself? He said, yes. And I believe it. Because literally this book has been written the way he speaks. So the funniest thing is, when you read a book, I've read 3 or 4 chapters out of it. So the first chapter I took out was Nawaz Sharif, Army, and that whole takeover and President Ishaq chapter. Because we are witnesses to that part of life, so we wanted to see. And that's the best way to check the credibility of book also. First, check out the chapters to which you have been a witness yourself, and you know things yourself. About why we should read this book. That's very important. So on the lighter side, he starts the chapter by saying that Ghulam Ishaq Khan had decided on day 1 to kill the cat on first day. हमारे पंजाबी में कहते हैं ना, पहले दिन सोचता थी कि बिल्ली मार देनी है. और इसाक खान ने सोचा हुआ था नवाज शरीफ की बिल्ली मार देनी है. This only Sheikh Rasheed could have written in his book, and all the literal translations of local proverbs and everything. The interesting thing was, he's been very, very clear about the way he's described Nawaz Sharif in these chapters. He's talked so positively and glowingly about him that where he is today, anybody else would think twice or thrice about writing about the arc for the sitting prime minister, especially when the society is so polarized, politics is so polarized. And I was shocked. He himself has changed ships. But I realized one thing after reading this book, that Sheikh Rasheed may have changed parties in his political career. He hasn't changed himself. And that for me was the most important part. Then in this book also, there are very minute but very critical insights and very sharp insights. Like at one instance, these are very light on the sides, but at one point he writes, he notes the day his government was sacked, Nawaz Sharif's government was sacked. He went and he said his nawafil, like we Muslims, we pray. Then he said, he was very humble and everything. Then he said the day his government was reinstated, Nawaz Sharif again went and said his nawafil, but with far less humility. And I found that keen look to detail very interesting. The same guy saying his nawafil earlier, when he was in the doldrums, there was more humility. The guy comes back, says his nawafil after he's come back to victory, and there's a lot of less humility in it. So in one sentence, while he was praising the guy, we know the assessment also. Then there are quite a few other things that are in this book, which historically were very controversial, but to which I am a personal witness. And we journalists were like a fly on the wall when there are so many conspiracies going on. We might not be a part of those conspiracies, but we know what's going on. At times, we've even done the job of messengers, whether a good messenger or a bad messenger or unwilling messenger. But we've seen all that. The 3 chapters that I've read in this book, I can vouch that the historic facts that he has said in those were correct and written without any bias or anything like that. And I know because we were part of that. We saw history ourselves and everything. So I think this is very amazing. And it could do with another spell check. Definitely the book could use a lot more spell checks, and it needs a re-edit. But the most important thing is, it's an honest book by a candid man. And that for me is the most important part about having a history. And it's a memoir in a way, and it's more like a nice insight into Pakistan's evolving history. And I think we all should read it, not for anybody else's sake, but for our own sake, because it appears to be. I've read 4 chapters. The 4 chapters were damn honest. So I assume the rest of the book is going to be honest also. And Shaikh Sahab, like they say, there's a tada favorite jumla hai, there's a face behind the case. So I think he himself has written it, and that in itself is an amazing feat. Shaikh Sahab और अंग्रेजी दो मुख्तलिफ हलकों में चलते हैं. I'm so happy that he's done it. It's a good thing, and I hope you guys enjoy reading it.